Okay, so today I want to talk about relapse. Coming out of the holiday season, it is something that occurs for many people. We have a slip during the holidays. We give ourselves some sort of excuse to go ahead and drink, and then we need to get back on course. So today I figured was a really good day to discuss what we do when we do relapse. First thing that I do want to talk about, and this is you're what do they say? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's like a no-win situation, because when we're talking about a relapse, I tend to lean with the part of the recovery community that believes that relapse is a part of recovery. I don't just believe that because I believe that. I believe that because, like, statistically and through plenty of academic research, when it comes to behavioral change, relapse is something that we should expect. Myself, I honestly couldn't tell you how many times I relapsed before I was able to stay sober for almost 5 years now at this point. But I had plenty of stints with like months of sobriety, and then I would go back and go back out for months and then get sober for months. And that's kind of just how it goes, to be completely honest with you. So here's the thing when it comes to that. When I say relapse is part of recovery, sure, some people use that permissively and they go back out and relapse, okay? Yeah, that sucks. If I say relapse is not a part of recovery, then when somebody relapses, they beat themselves up and then they don't go back to working a recovery program again. So it's like, it doesn't matter what you say, you're going to upset a part of the community. So what I've decided is I will go ahead and lean with the part that fits my own experience and also is backed by plenty of research. Like, that's just the reality. So that being said, if you did relapse over the holiday season, like, pick yourself back up and go back to doing what worked. There's just no way around that possibly occurring in your recovery. So don't get upset at yourself for having that experience. Most of us experience that. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about dealing with a relapse. So the first thing we need to do is we just need to acknowledge it, right? Like, recognize what happened. You know, why did the relapse occur? Don't grate your face into it or anything like that. Like, but why? Why did you end up drinking? You know, what stories? It's important to recognize that before our behaviors, we have thoughts and feelings. That has to do with our narrative. So what story were you telling yourself in your head that gave you permission to go ahead and drink? What story have you been telling yourself for a while? We think about the ways that we romanticize the holidays. You know, maybe we think that we have to drink over the holidays, so that makes it a little harder to stay sober on what is objectively just another day, right? But for whatever reason, this day is more difficult to stay sober on. So we want to think about stories like that. We want to think about stories we tell ourselves about how we deal with stress. I drink when I'm stressed out. Well, holidays are stressful, so compounding the romanticization of alcohol and the holidays, and then on top of that, you're stressed because the holidays. So now it's like you're 2 for 2 on why you might want to drink on Christmas or whatever that looks like. You know, tell ourselves stories like, well, everyone in my family drinks. Okay, well, there you go. There's one more in the reason that why you would relapse on that day, okay? So we want to think about those things, like what happened, why did it happen? The next thing is self-compassion. This is so important when it comes to recovery, okay? Because for most people, drinking occurs, or any sort of behavior, binging behavior occurs because there's an external stimulus. So external stimulus is, let's say it started with holiday stress, and then we binge to cope with the stress, and then after that binging behavior, we experience withdrawal. Okay, it doesn't matter what the binging behavior. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be pornography, it could be gambling, you name it, food, all sorts of things. Okay, so we have that behavior. Here we're talking specifically alcohol. After that binging experience, we have a withdrawal. So with alcohol, withdrawal does not mean you're like a severe alcoholic and you're having like the withdrawals that people think about. Okay, or like withdrawal from heroin or something like that. When we're done drinking, as soon as we've stopped drinking, the process of withdrawal has begun. Now, for like a more novice drinker or somebody that doesn't drink that often, withdrawal isn't nearly as noticeable. But if you drink heavily, the anxiety and all of those other bad feelings that occur after we drink, that withdrawal is much more noticeable. Okay, like hangover. A hangover is withdrawal. Okay, you don't have to be an alcoholic to experience withdrawal. The reason I bring this up is that withdrawal itself can then lead to more binging. Okay, the withdrawal, the experience of like drinking and then experiencing withdrawal can lead to more drinking, because the way we deal with binging, we deal with the stress, the withdrawal, is by binging more. Okay, So if we can't practice some self-compassion, if we can't be kind to ourselves when we do relapse, it's really easy to just keep drinking over and over and over. You know, it's like, well, I drank, so now I'm ashamed. And because I'm ashamed, I'm going to drink. And forever and always, right? That's the roller coaster that so many of us find ourselves on. So if you did drink on Christmas and you didn't want to drink on Christmas, then be nice to yourself about it. Think about it this way. If you had a friend of yours that came up to you and said, hey, I've been sober for X number of days and I did something silly on Christmas and I drank, what are you going to say to them? I don't think you're going to be a jerk. I don't think you're going to kick them while they're down. I think you're going to give them some words of encouragement and support. You're going to say that, hey, if you need anything, let me know. You're going to be nice to them. You're going to be kind. You're going to be compassionate. So do the same thing for yourself. Like, afford yourself the same amount of grace that you would give a stranger or a friend. It's odd because we will treat people around us better than we treat ourselves. It makes no sense, but I see it all the time. So if you did relapse, make sure that you are kind to yourself, because you don't need to make it harder on yourself than it already is, because you're probably going to beat yourself up for making the choice that you did. So, like I said, we want to acknowledge what happened and what the narrative is. Then we want to have some self-compassion. Be kind to yourself, okay? Then it's like important to think, what did you learn from the experience, okay? Because staying sober means finding what you need to do, like what you personally need to do to stay sober, and just doing it over and over and over forever. That's it. That's all it takes, okay? It's not, I gotta learn some new magic trick every day to stay sober. I learned the things that worked. I continue to do those things that work, and they work, and they work, and they work, and they work, until maybe one of them doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then I find the next thing that works. That's what you do. If you relapsed, there's something that was working that you didn't do, or something that came out of left field. I mean, it happens. Things happen, right? So we need to figure out, like, what have I learned from this experience? What should I have been doing that I didn't do? What happened that I wasn't expecting, that I couldn't be prepared for? Those are the things we want to figure out, so that the next time that it happens, we can do something different, you know? So that we don't repeat the exact same mistake. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you relapse this Christmas, you take no time to figure out what caused it. Then New Year's comes around, and maybe the same exact thing happens to you, except this time it was New Year's, but it's the same thing. And if you would have caught it after Christmas, then you don't have to deal with it after New Year's, or any other holidays that are coming up, or really any other reason/excuse that we might be looking for to drink, okay? So then once we've figured out kind of like, what did we learn from the experience? What's working, what's not working? What's next? What do you do next? Do you need to reach out to somebody to help you get back on track? I mean, if you did just relapse on Christmas, today is the 26th, probably not at a point that you need a medical detox, but let's say that this is weeks out or something like that. Do you need to go in for a detox? I mean, have you gotten to the point that you need some sort of medical intervention? And if you do, then maybe that's what you need to do. Do you have addictions therapists that you work with that you need to talk to? Do you have a coach that you need to talk to? Do you have a spouse that you need to let in on what's going on? You know, what do you need to do next? What is your next choice? What is the next decision that needs to be made? And then how do you do it? When it comes to the trans theoretical model, which is how I operate, it's like the most significant model when it comes to human behavior and behavioral change. When we're sober, we're in the process of maintenance. And when we relapse, we can go into any of those phases. There's like 5 phases in the trans theoretical model. We could go back to pre-contemplation or contemplation. That's like where we're maybe thinking about getting sober, or maybe we're not thinking about it at all anymore. Like when I talk about relapse being a part of recovery, the reason that I have that approach is I don't want somebody to relapse and then go back to pre-contemplation because they're so frustrated with themselves for relapsing. They don't even want to get sober again. They don't even care. We don't want to go that far. We don't want to go back to the beginning, right? We could go back to preparation. That's like what I said, what's next? How do we prepare to get sober again? Or we could just go back to action, which is like, hey, I relapsed. If you're working a 12-step program, I need to call my sponsor. If you have some sort of relapse prevention plan set up with friends or family, whatever that might look like, maybe you need to go to treatment. And a lot of times, you know, maybe you just need to not drink today, you know, but we need to identify what the action is. But we need to decide what's next. And once we've decided what's next, we need to get back to doing what worked. okay? Whatever it is that you've been doing that has made it to where you've been able to stay sober for however long you have been able to stay sober, just keep doing that forever, okay? That's it. If you get to a point where you are experiencing a greater level of recovery, maybe you don't need to go to meetings every day. Maybe you don't need to see a therapist every week. Whatever that looks like, cool, you can scale that stuff back. But if you're starting to feel weak again, go back to doing what works. It's like if you figure out the routine that you need in your life to maintain the standard of living, the quality of life that you want to experience, you just keep doing that. That's all you need to do. It can be frustrating to people because we like novelty. Like we really do, and that's okay. But when it comes to habits and human behavior, novelty is not really what works. It's just truly not. Think about it. Drinking wasn't even novel. It felt novel because like you are sober and then you are not. But as soon as you go from being sober to not being sober, most of us are back in a place where we're like, why did I do that? Or at least I was. I shouldn't project. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that that's what your experience was like. But that was mine. It was like, tell myself I wasn't going to drink. And then as soon as I drank, I regretted drinking. But like that moment, that like 10 minutes maybe from first drink until guilt, I guess was what it was all about. And you think about it, it's like none of us would actually want to be drunk constantly. Like for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nobody would really that's not what we're after. We were after that momentary change. Most of us were after that. You don't get to experience that if you're just constantly drunk. That's just a reality. So that's, I think, mostly my take on relapse. Again, we want to discuss the narrative. What happened? What's the story that we're telling ourselves about the behavior and why we justified the relapse, whatever that looks like? Because we did justify it. I don't care what anybody says. We somehow changed the script in our head and gave ourselves a reason or an excuse. I don't care which word. Use them interchangeably for all I care. A reason or an excuse to go ahead and drink after we had previously decided that we weren't going to. So we need to figure out what that was. Like, why did it occur? We need to have some self-compassion. Don't be a jerk to yourself. It's not useful. It's not useful at all. You can't wind back the hands of time just because you're beating yourself up over the choice that you made to drink. It doesn't make sense to do that. That's never in the history of ever helped someone actually solve their problem. It just doesn't at all. Because here's the reality. Self-efficacy, that is the belief in ourself and our ability to get better, is the number one predictor of long-term recovery. Period. Beats every other metric that has ever been measured when it comes to whether someone will or will not stay sober in the long run. Now, I don't know about you, but I am not very good at believing in myself when I'm being mean to myself. It just doesn't work that way. If I'm upset at myself, I'm not believing in myself. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm doubting myself when I'm upset at myself. I'm coming from a place of lack or emptiness. I don't even know how to explain it. But if I'm coming from there, I'm definitely not believing in myself. I believe in myself when I believe things are possible, when I believe that I can change, when I believe that I can maintain my sobriety. And that is the place where we want to come from. That's from a place of self-compassion and kindness, right? The other thing we want to do is we want to figure out what was it that we learned. Like, treat it like a crime scene, okay? We relapsed. This is what we learned from this experience. How do you take that information so that it doesn't happen again? That's what it's all about. Understand what the triggers were. And then, really, what's next? Yeah, we relapsed. Okay, big deal. What do we do now? Where are we going from here? Onward and upward. No reason to stay stuck in the mud. And then we want to get back to working what worked. Keep doing whatever it was that we were doing to stay sober before the relapse. Because it worked. It's not going to stop working. It doesn't stop working. That's the thing I need people to realize. It never stops working. The thing that you did to get sober and the things that you do to stay sober will not stop working. You just may stop doing those things. And then it is easy to make a mistake. Then it is easy to relapse because you stop doing those things. But it's not because those things stopped working, because they don't. It just doesn't work that way. It will never work that way. And that's kind of the nice thing about all this. So there it is. Now, if anybody has any questions about recovery, about any of that stuff, please let me know. I'm a very open book about my experience and the things that I do. Again, for anybody that's just hopping on, we had discussed what a relapse looks like. We had discussed the concept of relapse being a part of recovery. Your questions don't have to be specifically related to relapse. I'll probably be on for another 20 minutes or so. So you're welcome to ask any questions. Like I said, we'll go ahead and read through some of the comments real quick. Just want to say hi to Angie, John, and Cody, Laura, and Kendra. Angie, thank you very much for the stars. I did not see that. I appreciate that very much. Jenny, hello. And Maritza, and Kevin, and Andrew, Marvin, Dwayne, Eliza, Crystal, Pete, what's up, dude? Ben, Kathy, hello. Rumpy Doppelganger, hello there. I'm sure that's his name. Chancellor, what's up, dude? Nice to see you on here. Joe, what's up, man? Shelly, Scott, my guy, what's going on? Sean, nice to see you on here. You've been around for quite a while now. Angie, hello. Jessica, Brad, nice to see you on here, dude. Dudley, Merry Sober Christmas, man. Merry Christmas to you. Hope you're doing well up in that Canada. Gretchen, how's it going? Liana, hello, and hey, John. Again, if you guys have any questions about addiction, about recovery, sobriety, whatever you might have, whatever you're going through, this is a good time for you to ask those questions so that I can actually deal with them live. Very responsive to comments, so if you're not catching this live and you leave some sort of question that you might have, I will get to it. If you're not comfortable asking questions in the public forum, I completely understand. Welcome to send me a message. I am here to help, but I don't read minds. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of what the experience is like, but it's not the same for everybody. Although most of the time is pretty like and kind, maybe a little different in detail. Sean says, yeah, I've been following you for a bit. Merry Christmas, man. Merry Christmas to you as well. Chancellor, you've been here for like 2 years. He says, consistency is the key to staying sober. It seriously is. Sobriety is a habit. We don't see it this way. We don't see these things this way, but like everything that you do and everything that you will become is the result of habits. We just don't see them most of the time. You have nice teeth, it's because you brush your teeth. That's the reality. Like if you have a healthy weight and you're like physically fit, whatever that looks like, it's because you do the things that support that stuff habitually, right? You habitually eat the right amount of calories for whatever body type you want, and you consistently do the right kind of movement to support whatever body type that you want. There's no magic. Like there's no magic to getting sober. There's no magic to being bodybuilders, other than for some of them you're using some sort of performance enhancing drugs. But like but outside of that, even if you had those performance enhancing drugs, like you still would have to do all of the hard things like eating the right amount of food and doing the right amount of exercise. You need those habits. You need that consistency. Sobriety is the same way. I have things that I do on a regular basis to support my recovery. It's not rocket science. It's really not rocket science. I wish there were a pill. I wish there was something magical I could give people, but that doesn't exist because we're dealing with human behavior. We're dealing with habits, which requires you to start to change them to create new habits. That's how it goes. Crystal says hello and says 25 days sober from alcohol. Nice to stumble across your page. Happy to be here. We are glad to have you here. Congratulations. 25 days is a big deal. Is a big deal. Do not downplay that. 25 days is a big deal to anybody that has 24, anybody that has 7, and anybody that has 1, and anybody that can't even get any. It's also a big deal to even somebody like myself who has almost 5 years, because I remember what it was like to have 25 days. I totally remember that experience, and I remember how difficult it was, and it's something to be proud of. It's that simple. So good for you. What's up, Tamara and Cody? Nice to see you guys on here. We talked about relapse today for anybody that is showing up late. We discussed how important it is to figure out what story we're telling ourselves about the relapse. We need to figure out like why it happened. It's that simple. And then beyond that, we need to practice some self-compassion. Don't make it harder on ourselves. Be easy to yourself so that you can pick yourself up and move forward. Like, it's that simple. Once you figured out what it is, once you decided that you're not going to beat yourself up anymore, i.e. go drink more, figure out what you learned. What did you learn from the experience? What are you going to do next? And then get back to doing what you were doing that supported your recovery before the relapse. That's pretty much it. If you're coming in at the tail end, once this live's over, it'll be posted back up for like another 30 days, so you can catch it. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Andrew says it's staying sober when everyone else is not, but I listen to you to get me through the day. Yeah, that's it. Like, you can do it. You did do it. I knew that you could do it. I told you you could do it. Let's see. What's up, Crystal? What's up, Lawrence? Brad says, staying sober for me is to do the work every day and not get complacent. If I do, then I might as well go back out. Giving up the drink is the easy part. Living without it is what the work is for. That's exactly it. I mean, that's 100% what I just said. You know, like, I don't know that I go as far as to go back out, but like, it is the work after we quit that's hard. That's another cool thing that the recovery community is divided about. Is it harder to get sober or is it harder to stay sober? I land in the harder to stay sober camp, because getting sober was something I'd done a number of times along the way, sometimes for months. But it was the staying sober part that was difficult. I don't want to start a flame war or an argument about that. I quite frankly am not in the mood for anything like that. But it is the work afterwards that's hard. Like, learning to regulate your emotions, learning to show up for yourself every day, learning to show up for other people every day. That's the kind of stuff that's difficult. Learning to not want to retreat into the hole or into a bottle is hard. That's the hard part. For me, it was easy to put the drink down, but to put it down and leave it down and not touch it again. And the next time that, like, I have a bad day, to learn to do something different, that was the hard part. I told myself, like, I had all these things I was worried about that would cause me to relapse at some point, and many of them have already come true. But I had a different way to approach life, so those things didn't do that. But in the state of mind that I was in when I first got sober, I was convinced that those things would push me over the edge. But they didn't, because I got stronger and I got more resilient. It doesn't get easier. In fact, the difficulty level stays the same. Life doesn't actually get harder when you get sober. It just feels like it sometimes because you don't have alcohol to cope with. But it doesn't get easier after years of sobriety either. You just get better at dealing with things that are hard. That's it. I can regulate my emotions now. I know how to deal with anxiety. I know how to hopefully not fall into a deep depression. Like, I can't avoid depression entirely. It happens. I have moments where I'm feeling a type of way. It's just that simple. But I don't have to stay there, which is something I used to do. Not only would I choose to stay there, I'd choose to fall further into the hole by drinking. That's what it takes to get sober, is to learn how to deal with all those things. To stay sober, excuse me. Haley, what's going on? Sorry, I want to catch up on some comments real quick. Dudley says, I find eating good really helps. It does. I mean, it does. Like, anything that you can do to support yourself, make good decisions, is going to make it all easier, right? Like, there's actually quite a bit of science about, like, gut health and mental health and that kind of stuff. I don't know enough about it. I'm not going to even pretend to be even like a armchair expert on the matter, but I understand that it's a big deal, okay? The only thing that I guess I would want to caution people about is that we want to find the one thing that causes a big effect in our life, instead of trying to do 100 things that sometimes cause side effects. I mean that very sincerely. Like, let's say that your diet's not good, you're not exercising very often, you're drinking way more often than you should, and your relationship is bad. Okay, my suggestion would be that you just get sober first. My suggestion would be that you get sober first, because if you decided to work on your relationship first, I don't know about you, but my partner would still be frustrated that I was drinking. And even if she wasn't frustrated that I was drinking, it'd be just a matter of time until I did something while I was drinking to frustrate her. So, like, well, good for me. I am fixing my relationship, but I'm not sober and I'm just going to trash my relationship again. I know that because I know me. I know the experience. I know what addiction and active use looks like. I know what it looks like. So I know that that's the first thing I need to do. And then I can worry about my diet. Then I can worry about my exercise routine. Then I can worry about my relationships. I can do all that. But I can't do any of that stuff correctly if I'm not sober. Period. So that's it. I just always want to caution people because we have this concept. I did it over and over again, and I see people do it all the time. We're going to wake up tomorrow, and we're going to be a totally different person. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to conquer the world, and I'm going to be sober. And it just takes one of those Jenga pieces to come loose, and the whole tower topples over. Like, I didn't eat right, so might as well drink tonight. Might as well skip the gym because I didn't eat right. Like, those are the things that we do. We talked earlier about how our thoughts and our feelings lead to behaviors. That's it. That's the stuff we need to be careful of. So, like, get one thought, one behavior, conquer the one thought, one behavior, move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But start with the first one, getting sober. Lawrence says, hey, brother, also relapse, must I use anti-booze? I don't know what anti-booze is, to be completely honest with you. You're welcome to send me a message. Anti-booze, I really don't know what that is. There are a number of medications, if that's kind of what you're talking about. I don't know, but I'd love to answer that question. If you give me more specificity about what anti-booze is before I get off here, I would love to answer in better detail. Thiago, I'm sorry for everybody if I butcher your name, okay? Pre-apologizing, or post even, potentially, at this point. Chancellor says, I practice being sober every day until it became my normal way of life. Enjoying my sobriety takes work. Totally. Petunia says, no, Petunia didn't say anything. Petunia's here. Tamra, I love my sober life, and then after I came back home to a toxic environment, but I learned a lot. In this round, I stayed sober, but unfortunately, I'm not anymore. But more conscious about what I do. That's seriously what this whole thing is about. That's why I believe relapse is a part of recovery. It's about learning. It's about, like, getting sober, staying sober is a journey of self-discovery. It is figuring yourself out. What makes you tick? Why? Why are you drinking? Like, what is causing your drinking? Yes, it's a habit. Don't get me wrong. But, like, do you have anxieties that you're not dealing with? Are you depressed? Like, what are all these other things that can be solved and resolved? But first, the drinking needs to stop first, because you can't fix any of those other things if you don't do that. But it's not just quitting drinking. That's why we do sometimes go back out and we go learn and we figure out what it is that caused us to drink again, so that next time maybe that thing doesn't get to us. So it's okay. I hope that you do find your way back. If there's anything that I can do to help, please let me know. Feel free to shoot me a message. But it's okay. It's okay. It happens. Elizabeth, hello. Albert, hello. Chancellor says, part of my sobriety practice is watching your podcast every day first thing in the morning with coffee. Thank you. I am glad that it's had that kind of an impact on you. That's what I'm here for. Robin, what's up? Eric, what's up? Robbie, Dudley says antabuse. It could be. Okay, anti-booze. Now I see what you're saying. Antabuse. Lawrence, I don't know. Again, Dudley, thank you for that, by the way. If that is the question that you're asking, I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I will not give medical advice. I never have and I never will. I do know this, though. There is it's called disulfiram. If you're taking that, you can't drink. If you do drink, it makes you really sick. That being said, as I understand it, if you drink and then you were to take it afterwards, like too soon afterwards, it would still make you sick. So I don't know. I don't know what that time frame looks like. If what you're asking is like, do you need to take medicine, some sort of medication to help you stay sober? You're welcome to. I don't know what you have to or want to do. I cannot chart your road to recovery in any way, shape, or form. I know that people have had really good experience with antabuse. People have had really good experience with like naltrexone. as I understand it, this new Ozempic stuff seems to be somewhat helpful in this arena. I am not against medically assisted treatment in any way, shape, or form at all. A nicer, kinder, wiser version of me, the version I am today, would have suggested to myself a past version of myself to maybe give it a shot. There was a time when I was recommended to take anxiety medicine and I refused. I refused to take it. I was like, you know what? I got sober. I didn't get sober to be on pharmaceuticals, and looking back at it would have made my life just a little bit easier. And that's okay. That's okay. So if taking Antabuse or naltrexone or anything like that is something that you want to take in order to stay sober, I'm all for it. I don't get to make the decisions for you. My thoughts on Antabuse is like, you have to take it. Like that's part of the thing, right? Like you have to take the thing for the thing to work. And if you have to take a thing to make the thing work, then why don't we just try to figure out how to not take the drink in the first place instead? Why did we do that instead? This is a way to do it. I want to read some comments. Pete says, have to go. See you at 5. Man, I will see you this evening. Let's see. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my thought on the medicine, guys. Elizabeth says, hello. Thank you for your support. Relapsed recently, and I'm learning that I need a community around me. I can't do this on my own. Most of us can't. Like, here's the thing. Like, I've had people ask me, like, why am I a recovery coach? Like, why do I do this? If you have kids, I mean, you don't even need to have kids to understand this concept because you were a kid. Nobody wanted to brush their teeth. Nobody. Like it's not a thing. Like we unless we watch a lot of people brush their teeth, the first time that you have your teeth brushed, it's not something you want to do, and it's not something that just turns into a habit. It's not something that you're doing 2 or 3 times a day right out of the womb. It's something that you have to be trained and conditioned to do. Sobriety is no different because it's just a habit that we're building. We're building the opposite of the habit, which we did have, which is drinking heavily or binging or whatever your drinking looks like. We need to build the habit of sobriety. And to build the habit of sobriety, we need external accountability, whatever that looks like. Maybe it looks like a therapist, a coach, looks like rehab. It can look like just a sober community like this. Because like all we need is like constant, especially in the beginning, potentially constant reminders about the choice that we're making and why we're making the choice. Brushing our teeth is the same. I have a daughter right now that's like, she's a butthead about brushing teeth, okay? It's plain and simple, okay? So what do? You just keep reminding her to do it. And then sometimes you make her do it. Sometimes you just make her brush her teeth. Like, do it for her. Sometimes you have to scare her a little bit about what it looks like if you don't brush your teeth. That's what you got to do. But it's us doing the work outside, the community, recovery community, doing work to remind us that we need to brush our teeth, that we need to stay sober. Whatever that looks like. That's what this is all about. So you are very welcome. I hope that you are finding what you are looking for within the community on my profile. Let us know if there's anything else that we can do for you. That's what we're here for. Jimmy, what's up? Clyde, hello. Dudley says, I've tried many years ago. Antabuse, not a good thing. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I never did it. I don't know. I mean, there were times I wasn't supposed to drink that I totally drank. So I guess I would have to question whether I would drink even if there were some sort of consequences if I drank. I don't really know. I don't know if it would have worked for me. I've heard that it's worked for some people. I don't know. Thank you for sharing your experience, though. Sean says, stay sober, whatever that looks like to you. Words I heard someone else I follow that's going through sobriety say. That's seriously it. Like, I don't, people will ask, like, what does my recovery coaching program look like? I don't know what it looks like for you because I don't have any 2 clients that look the same. I don't have any 2 clients that are doing the same thing to support their recovery. I don't have any 2 clients that we took the exact same methods in order to help them get sober and then stay sober. I just don't, because we're all individuals. I don't know if you are more motivated by fear or if you're more likely to move towards things that bring you, like happiness and joy. I don't know. I don't know. So like what someone's recovery looks like, I don't know. But once you figure out what those things are, you just keep doing it. Maybe it looks like a 12-step program. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it looks like things like SMART recovery, Celebrate recovery. There are like as many colors as there are under the sun, different approaches to getting and staying sober. I don't know which one will work best for you. I mean, I think I know what works best for me at this point, but that's only because I don't have any basis of comparison. The only basis of comparison I do have are the things that I did that didn't work, right? I have all of those. They didn't work. So as it stands today, yes, I have what I think is my best program of recovery, but it took me taking a lot of different steps, trying a lot of different pies until I figured out that like I'm not really into that pie and I'm not really into that pie and I really like this pie, you know, like that's what it took. That's what this is all about. Like if you try a certain program and it's not working, then don't blame yourself. And also maybe don't blame the program. Like it's something in between the two. Like the program's not for you, it's not a good fit for you. Doesn't mean the program's bad. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that maybe you should go try something else. And when I say go try something else, like maybe try the thing you're trying at least twice to make sure that maybe you just didn't do it half-heartedly the first time. You know, give it a serious try. Seriously commit to something. And if it doesn't work, then fine, it doesn't work. Go try something else. But like keep trying. Don't stop trying. Okay? I guess that's my biggest takeaway about the whole relapse thing, is don't stop trying. Just because you relapse, don't stay out there, because you could change your life. You can. You're one choice away from making a better choice, living a better life, being happy again. It's that simple. Let's see. Dudley, I went out for dinner and didn't know there was alcohol in the after dinner cake. Got very ill. Any small amount of booze, very ill. And abuse. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the concern. Also, there's alcohol in a ton of stuff. Like, I don't know what like the activation. I don't know what, I'm not the doctor, but I don't know how much alcohol it takes for an abuse to actually make you really sick. But like, guys, bananas, ripe bananas have alcohol in them. Bread, like any yeast, guys, like breads have a trace amount of alcohol in them. What else? Well, kombucha, like any fermented foods, they have alcohol in them. There's ethanol in those things. So I don't know how much it takes to interact with anabuse, but like, I don't know. You're not taking bread off my menu just because I'm trying to get sober. It's not going to happen. It's not happening for this guy. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that, Dudley. Again, guys, if you're just hopping on, if you've got any questions about recovery, addiction, let me know. Drop them in the comments. We're kind of just, I don't want to say killing time because I really enjoy being on here with you guys, but I'm spending some time with you guys. So I'm not really dictating where we go from here. I just wanted to start the topic off with relapse, but it doesn't have to stay with relapse at all. Let's see. Tina, hello. Talon, hello. Chancellor says, getting sober is not a one-size-fits-all. You have to find what works for you. It takes time. Exactly. That's exactly it. I tried a number of things along the way. Some of them worked to varying degrees of success, and then some of them I like outgrew, and that's okay. It's like, well, it worked for the time, for the season that I was in, and then it's not something that fits in my life anymore, and that's not something to do anymore, and that's okay. That's an okay part of the experience. There's no reason to be worried about that. Joseph, hello. Nice to see you on here. Cool, guys. Well, I have been live for pretty close to an hour now at this point. Anybody catching the tail end, we talked about relapse. So when this is over, you can go back, you can watch what I talked about relapse and my thoughts on it, and then also things that you can, and I recommend you should do if you do relapse and you're trying to get sober, which I recommend that you do try to get sober again if you relapse. There's no reason to just stay out there drinking at all. So yeah, if that's anything you're interested in, pop back on. You can watch this from the beginning. You'll be able to catch that part of the segment. Thank all of you for tuning in. I appreciate your time today and your attention, all that good stuff. Yeah, there you go. If you're interested in private coaching, I do one-on-one private coaching. I've got some group coaching. I've got a course. You need any information on any of that stuff, feel free to send me a message, or you can just go to my website, beyondthedrinkcoaching.com. You can learn about all the stuff there. I've got a podcast that you can listen to. I write articles that you can read, and I go live, and I create lots and lots of short form content. I do some longer stuff on YouTube. If you've got questions, the answer is likely out in my body of work. And if it's not something that you can readily find, shoot me a message, leave a comment, whatever. Somebody will help you out for sure. If it's not myself, there are plenty of knowledgeable people in the community. So it is on you. You are responsible for your recovery and your sobriety. The tools exist. You can go find them. You can learn how to use them, but you have to choose to use them. I'm not keeping anything from anybody at all. All of the information that anybody could need to get sober is available for free through my body of work. I just exist to help people be accountable with that, because it's really easy to know what to do. It's really hard to do what we know. So that's where I come in. Anyways, have a wonderful day. I will see you the next time I'm live, which pretty sure is actually going to be tomorrow because I have it on my calendar. See you then.